So I want to kind of go through a bunch of questions and Doc White responded to on Blue Sky for someone asked him. Number one is, which Source Dragon did Thunderfang belong to before his corruption slash fall, and if he did belong to one of the seven, what was his element before his corruption slash fall? He said none, so I'm assuming he literally didn't really follow any of Source Dragon. He was probably a standalone dragon. That makes sense. He didn't really seem like he kind of cared for the Source Dragons, especially when he casted them away. But before that, he really probably just was a tyrant warlord. I think he was considered a warlord of the war. I could be wrong. Coming in number two was Thunderfang's ability to steal souls something he was born with, or something that happened through a freakish mutation when he was born, or did he gain that through dark magical means? Magic, so his power to steal souls, he ended up going for it through magic. That probably is why he ended up becoming like a corruption of a dragon or something, and kind of turned his opinions against the Source Dragons. I don't really know. Coming number three is, what did the other Source Dragons think of Thunderfang's power to steal souls? Did it make it more like an outcast, or not as respected among the other dragons? Opinions were separated, divided. I'm assuming some dragons thought it was okay, it was good, because it probably helped them in the war, in the end of the day, probably helped them with the only war, and some dragons were like, it's dark magic and all that, so it doesn't, so they shouldn't really be using it because it probably will corrupt one's soul, or what that same, how it like, how Thunderfang's power can shatter goodness and all that. So that's probably why there were divided opinions about the matter, I'm assuming. Coming in on four is, did the Source Dragons choose not to get involved in the only Dragon War? Because they did that, if they did that, would have it changed future events that were meant to happen? He just said no. I'm assuming they just chose not to interfere, to be fair. It was probably the fact that like they had the Archdragons fighting. If all seven Source Dragons that fight, even all seven Source Dragons fighting in general, probably would in general just like change the balance, but like not the future events, but probably be a lot of like chaotic power altogether, probably a lot of destruction. So they probably chose not to interfere because of that reason. And to be fair, all of them together, they might have even killed more dragons than like Oni, or killed some of their own. Plus, I'm assuming they already saw themselves winning in the end, so they really thought they had no reason to intervene. It's just my thoughts, of course. Coming at number five is, you said that first Ninjago Master was a conduit for all seven Source Dragons. Does that mean that he was able to access more power from the Dragon Cores than Lloyd, who was only a conduit for one Source Dragon? Yes, that makes sense, because seven Source Dragons is obviously way more powerful than one Source Dragon. I feel like that answer is pretty obvious. But yeah, it's still great to get confirmation on that, I guess. Coming at number six is, did the first Ninjago Master have a personal relationship with all seven Source Dragons, or was he only personally close to some of the Source Dragons and some of the seven Source Dragons? Which Dr. Wyatt replies, all, so he has a personal connection with all of the Source Dragons. Makes sense, considering he he has a really close connection with kind of all dragons, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly about the first Ninjago Master in Dragon Rising, exactly what they mentioned, but it makes sense he has a personal connection with all Source Dragons. I don't know how deep like the personal connection goes, but it's probably something that like maybe asked the Source Dragons for like a deal eventually, and they kind of grew on relationships. To be fair, the first Ninjago Master did create all 16 realms, didn't he? So yeah, it would make sense. He might have even needed the Source Dragon's approval for such a thing. I don't really know. But yeah, that's at least nice to know. Coming at number 7 is, will we find out what actions led to the beginning of the Oni Dragon War, which Dot Riot plays not in Dragon Rising, but I expect in the future. By expect, he means one, if Lego, because they kind of have to go through Lego for that stuff. If a lot more people want to know about it, there's a chance it could be told, whether in a book or hopefully its own series, because honestly I would love to animate in some sort of way, because honestly the only, like, especially for these days, I love the only. Honestly, I thought the whole thing was really good. It's so annoying that we only got like 4 episodes of it. Like, the only stuff could easily have been like a whole season by itself, with them slowly taking over parts of Ninjago, like with how Nanakon did in like season 6, where he took parts of land. It slowly slept the darkness in. I guess with it making it really quick, it really determined how much of a threat the Onis are. But that was honestly not even all of the Oni's forces. So, like, the whole the Oni Dragon War, if we got to see that place in action, I would love to see it personally. Now, this next question, I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of videos of people theorizing of this, that there could be, I think I did a video on it, maybe, of there being a source Oni, but let's get to the question. We know the Firstborn is known as the first mortal dragon and the mother of all dragons. But wouldn't there also be a first Oni where all Onis come from? And if yes, is this said Oni still alive, hiding somewhere? Which Dr. White says no comment on this, which honestly could, depending on if Lego ends up letting it run through, it could end up being like, he could end up being brought back, like the source of Oni, the source dragon of Oni or whatever, the original Oni. I'm assuming Thunderfang didn't absorb his soul, but maybe because there was a theory that all the source dragon, all the Thunderfang souls that the Oni were like released into, that the Oni ends up coming back to life. There's a theory that they end up, all the original Thunderfang absorbed are actually back awake now and are kind of living and kind of free. And basically, if that is the case, I feel like the source Oni might come out of hiding, and Dragon Rising may or may not end on a battle between the Oni and dragons once again. It does seem like, honestly, it seems like a really good ending if the Oni and dragons end up having one final fight, but this time the Oni get fully destroyed, and we could probably look into all of the Oni in like books or whatever, the past of the Oni, or in that said season we'll get a flashback. Who's to say? It all depends if Lego doesn't actually interfere, because they've been interfering a lot lately, way more than they need to. Since you confirmed that Firstborn is the strongest arc dragon, does that mean she has the same abilities as the other arc dragons, where she can grant others her dragon energy? Which Doc Wright replies, yes, that would be the case. That makes sense realistically. If you're asking why they didn't do it in season 8 or 9, season 9 is simply because, well, plot hole. Second of all, they probably didn't find that, they probably didn't think this far ahead. That's realistically the only reason, most likely. But if we end up seeing Firstborns then, which I honestly hope we do, because we don't really get that much interaction between Firstborn, and this is literally Dragon Rising, and with all the merges together, the First Realm was also in there merged, which we did see in Dragon Rising Season 3 Part 1, so I hope eventually we will end up seeing Firstborn again, at least some part in Dragon Rising. It could even just be a small like cameo. I would love to see that. Coming at number 10 is, did Cole learn Dragon Rising or Rising Dragon off screen and we have just not seen him use it yet? Because obviously we don't really see Cole that often. And Doc Quiet replies, hold on to this. Literally, I don't know why he would reply hold on to this. I'm assuming that Cole has learned it, or maybe he's learning it as we speak during season 3 off screen. But like, if you guys don't season 3 part 2, you guys know. But I mean, you can still pretty learn Rising Dragon regardless, because I'm not going to get into leaks regarding that. But yeah, I thought, well, honestly, I thought he was just going to say either no or yes. But if, I'm assuming Cole will end up learning it, and if Cole learns it, the only ninja who hasn't learned it would be Jay. But I'm assuming where this go, because as far as I'm aware, from what I remember, we haven't seen Cole. I'm obviously not talking about season 2 part 2 leaks, so yeah, only season 3 part 2 leaks. But from season 3 part 1, we haven't seen Cole fight any members of the Forbidden Five. I could be wrong, but he hasn't, from my understanding of it. Anyway, yeah, so I thought mention this, so I'm mentioning everything in this, might as well mention this. He probably has learned it most likely, but I don't know why he's trying to keep this a bit of a mystery. It could just be like he hasn't learned it and he's just trolling us, but yeah. Okay, coming in at number 11 is Dandian. I believe this is the dragon we met in Dragon Monstrosity. I can't actually pronounce the name. The dragon that we saw in Ninjago Legends Monstrosity, is she an Arc Dragon, and is she another dragon that has Lloyd's element? Which Doc Wire replied 11A no, which I'm assuming she's not an Arc Dragon. And 11B a Life Dragon, yes. So I'm assuming she's a Life Dragon, like, cause she's kind of similar to Lloyd's element in that aspect, but she's not an Arc Dragon, which fair enough. I don't even think we will see that dragon in the future. Maybe we will, because there's another Monstrosity short comes out, which I know she's in there, but whether we'll see a past Monstrosity is another question. I guess it depends. If people theorize she's dead, she's going to die, so I don't really know. I guess it really depends whether she lives, and then if we visit Ninjago Monstrosity, Ninjago Monster Realm, the Monster Realm, whatever it's called, the Land of Monsters, if we visit that in the future, which I don't know if we will in Dragon Rising. It kind of just depends. But yeah, I do hope we get to see her again after Dragon Monstrosity wraps up. Does the Arc Dragon of the Northern Spiral belong to the Source Dragon of Motion, while the Arc Dragon of Fallen Leaves belong to the Source Dragon of Life? Which Doc Riot ends up saying wait on this, so I'm assuming it probably will be true, or at least half true regarding it. So there's so much dragons to keep place of, I forget a lot of the dragons. As of right now, I really have no comment on this, but if you guys obviously know more about this, I'm pretty sure it's one of those tribes or whatever of the dragons, but there's so much dragon stuff, it's super easy to forget. Well, for me personally, if you remember and all that, fair enough, but I just watch it and kind of zone out while watching it, then I kind of go back occasionally to find some certain stuff I might have missed in initial watches. That's about all. So yeah, I probably just zoned out while all this stuff was being played, to be honest. And number 13 is just kind of a weird question. Do the Pace Dragons have the element of speed? Which, if you guys know the element of speed, honestly, probably one of my favorite of the side elemental masters is the speed elemental. But though Talk Quiet obviously replies that no, they do not have the elemental speed. Honestly, it would have been fun, but no, the Pace Dragons, or Patriarch Dragons, however you want to say them or something, I don't really know how to describe them, but the Pace Dragons do not have the elemental speed, and that kind of wraps up all of this. Honestly, there's a lot to go through. This video will probably be titled something about Oni, because there's honestly a lot of Oni stuff that's been dropped here, and I cannot wait until they hopefully explore more of the Oni stuff, because the Oni trilogy was probably one of my favorite trilogies to watch, or when I watched it back in the day. I'm annoyed that the trilogy only had 4 episodes, but at the same time, I feel like if they had 16, I don't know how they would have done it, because of how much big of a threat the Onis were to Ninjago. But in the end, they end up winning, and hopefully they return, because honestly they're just good villains in my opinion. It's just pure like thingy, and if they don't return, I'm expecting Garmadon to show up, to be honest, or Wu to show up in some form. But either way, without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe, do all great stuff. Bye guys.